Greetings and thank you for joining me. My name is Life Coach Tiana Johnson, and I am here today to walk you through this PowerPoint and presentation about melanin, the power within. I think it's so important for us to learn more about ourselves as melanin dominant people so that we can ensure that we are aware of what we possess naturally, okay? So let's go ahead and jump right into it because we have a lot of information that we're going to go over. First, we're going to say, what is melanin? We're going to start on that. And if you look up the dictionary, look in the dictionary at Webster's definition, it says a dark brown to black pigment occurring in the hair and skin and iris of the eye in people and animals. And it is responsible for tanning of the skin and exposed to sunlight. It is also a Greek word. It comes from melas or melan, which means black. And if you look up the meaning, basically, you just see that there's a lot of things about color. But what else does melanin do? Well, first of all, this pigment or this color that they keep speaking of is caused by melanocytes. Melanocytes produce the melanin within our body. And these melanocytes, depending on the melanosome, which is within the melanocyte, depending on if that melanosome is big or small, depends on how much melanin is being viewed from the cell. So smaller melanosomes create a smaller view of melanin, and those melanocytes do not create a lot of melanin. The bigger melanosomes, however, display a larger amount of melanin and produce a large amount of melanin. Every living organism contains melanin, human, animals, and plants. Melanin is found in every single system of the body. And it's like a half-charged battery that is always just accepting any electrical charge that it comes into contact with. Melanin is activated and charged by the electromagnetic spectrum, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And melanin is the physical form of light. I want you to keep that in mind as we move to the next slide. So on this next slide, I just wanted to show you just a system. We are not going to go over this into detail, but I wanted you to look at the little black spots everywhere, right? You see them everywhere. This is the actual egg at fertilization, and it is showing how it is created and produced, okay? How it grows, how it continues to go and go and grow and grow. But as you see at the beginning of this, it's melanin. Okay, every black dot you see is melanin. And so I just wanted you to see how melanin not only has been here since the beginning of time, since the beginning of life, it also is the beginning of life. Okay. All right, let's move to the next slide. Three main types of melanin. So we have three main types of melanin that we're going to go over: the eumelanin, the pheomelanin, and the neuromelanin. Now, the eumelanin is probably what you are familiar with. It is a highly electrical charged molecule, okay? Very concentrated in its molecular weight and density, very absorbent. And the color ranges are from dark brown to blue-black. We also have the pheomelanin or the pseudomelanin, which is a less dense form of the eumelanin. It's lower molecular weight and structure. It produces the colors of yellowish brown to a slightly red color. Then we have the neuromelanin, which is probably my favorite. It's so fantastic. It's just very, very broad. And that is going to be the little dark pigments within the neurons in our nervous system. And this melanin is not made by melanocytes. So earlier when we talked about the melanin in the skin and eyes and hair, we talked about the melanocytes. But when we're talking about melanin within the neural system, this melanin is not made by melanocytes. This melanin, also the neuromelanin, it conducts electrons, photons, and phonon energy. And we're going to talk about photons in a little bit. But we'll go over some subtypes of melanin. This is what people normally say to be race. And I keep going like this because race really is not a thing when it comes to the skin types. Race is a thing when it comes to life and equality and the government and matrix things. But when it comes to just real life, nature, there is no race. We're all the same. We just all are made differently. And so this is what this is talking about. The different types of melanin, from melanin recessive people to melanin dominant people. So types 1, 2, and 3 are for the melanin recessive people. Type 1 is usually pale or white skin, produce very little melanin, blue eyes, blonde hair, red hair, freckles, normally a Celtic background like Irish, Scottish, or Welsh. That is a type 1 melanin. Type 2 and 3 are just going to be other variants of the melanin recessive type. Type 4, now we're getting into the pheomelanin, okay? So this is going to be Japanese, Chinese, Italians, Greeks, Spanish, Red Indians. A pale yellow to red ruddy kind of color is prominent in this type. We also have type 5, which is going to be like our Mexicans, Malaysians, Puerto Ricans, Spanish-speaking people, color ranging from brown to black in skin. And type 6 is going to be what we call black people, okay? Egyptians, Ethiopians, Nigerians, African Americans, Australian Aborigines. If you don't know the history of the Australian Aborigines, please look that up. Those ancestors need to be venerated. But that is going to be the type 6, okay? Always have very black hair, dark eyes, okay? Now, some properties of melanin. Melanin dominant individuals are more likely to retain excess fat in the body, okay? Because melanin itself, again, it's half charged all the time. So it's very easy for it to bond onto molecules within things. And because of this, it's very easy for it to bond onto fat molecules, and to hold onto them within our system. So literally by just having an exorbitant amount of melanin, it makes it a lot easier for your body to retain things because of this information and intelligence in your body. Melanin has been involved in the life process since life began. And it is very old. So the very, very, very first form of life was like some algae that was in the water. And guess what was within that algae? Melanin. So it has been here since the beginning of life, and literally is the beginning of life, as we just saw on that second slide. Melanin has magnetic and electric binding properties due to being receptive to all types of electrical charges. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about light on the next slide, and how melanin is able to do that, how it's able to be a conductor of magnetic and electrical charges. Melanin can become toxic when it comes into contact with drugs. And I think that melanin dominant people have definitely seen this firsthand, how our community is a lot more prone to being addicted to some type of drug or substance. That is really because our melanin, again, just like the fat that we talked about up at the top, it is able to bond to molecules very easily. And so this can become very toxic when it comes to the molecules being in our body, maybe not being that good for our body. This can be amphetamines, LSD, tranquilizers, even marijuana. I know that kind of hurt my feelings. But when you light the marijuana, you're changing the molecular structure and you're now turning it into a drug. And that can either block or alter the electromagnetic chart volume within your melanin. So just like in a scary movie, how they say like white people run towards danger, black people run away from danger, right? But if you really, in context, that makes sense, because melanin recessive people do not have this melanin on the outside of their body. With melanin dominant people having this melanin on the outside of their body, you literally possess a different brain. Remember, this is information. This melanin is information. So it is a brain. It can pick up on things and energies outside of itself, right? Because again, it can pick up on all types of charges. We walk around every single day knowing that we're energy. And if you didn't know that, you know that now you are energy. So that is how you can step in a room and feel that the room is off or whatever. If we do drugs and alter how this melanin works, that alters how we're able to pick up on different energies as well. So keep that in mind. Melanin can go through several chemical reactions at once. This is called oxidation reduction. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm only stating this so that you know that melanin is an awesome chemical. It does not have to it doesn't have to go through this and then do this and then do this and then do this. No, it can do all of those things together at once. That is how amazing it is. Melanin can neutralize radiation and neutralize harmful free radicals that happen when breaking down food, as well as reactions from or harmful rays from UV, gamma, X-ray, and cosmic, okay? So this is how us as melanin dominated people are able to go out in the sun, okay? We can eat a little. We do have to eat a certain way to help the melanin function properly, right? But if two people, if a melanin recessive and a melanin dominant people were put into a place where neither one of them should be eating that nasty food, some type of nasty food, the melanin dominant person is probably going to be able to survive a little longer simply because they're able to neutralize certain things within the body, okay? Better than someone who is melanin recessive and doesn't have those abilities. Melanin is always present during tissue repair and regeneration, as well as infections and disease. So that means that it is a part of the immune system. Okay, we know that it's in every system of the body, so it's in the immune system. It's also a part of regeneration. Melatonin is a very important chemical. It not only helps us with sleeping and things, it is also a regenerative chemical. It helps to rejuvenate the body and to repair things within the body. So that's why it's important to get proper rest. Melanin combine and interact and release lots of Earth's elements, okay, because these things are within melanin. So gold, silver, platinum, zinc, iron, calcium, sodium, potassium, all of these things are within us. You can find them within us as humans. Now let's talk about light, because this is where things get this is where we're going to start opening up a new way of thinking in a new realm, okay? So just listen to this information, and then I'm going to show you some pictures to kind of help sink it in. So light is not just color that we recognize. It comes in many forms. And these forms make up what is called the electromagnetic spectrum, or EMS. The EMS contains all realms and levels of reality, and all reality is made of light or photons, okay? When we speak of light, you can automatically assume photons are there because photons make up light, okay? Light is made up of photons, okay? To say that the EMS contains all realms and levels of reality, what that is saying is that the electromagnetic spectrum, we can communicate with anyone or anything within our universe, as well as a universe outside of this one, outside of this solar system, outside of whatever, because we are all mutually made of one source, which is light, okay? Photons are the subatomic unit, or one of the building blocks of light, and it composes all of the frequencies of light known within the electromagnetic spectrum, okay? Now, let me put into context what I am saying. Photons are the little bitty building blocks of light, okay? So a lot of little photons make up light. And within these little photons, each photon contains the entire electromagnetic spectrum within inside of it. Every single day, we sit into a room of probably 1 billion photons. Photons are around us constantly, just like water is around fish constantly. So to me, the air that is around me, that is actually photons. And photons, okay, possess energy and information that's found within the electromagnetic spectrum. which is why they may show or reenactments of speaking with aliens, right? And in that reenactment, they may show the alien communicating with people by flashing a light or by clucking and things like that. We know that sound waves are also light, right? So that sound is within the electromagnetic spectrum, okay? That is what it is showing, that we can communicate with people regardless of whatever because of this commonality, light. Now, photons love consciousness, okay? It's like their food. They eat them. And consciousness, we know, is the mold to create reality around us that we call matter, okay? So this is literally the scientific definition of what you think becomes your reality. So let's do a hypothetical process of how photons are acting. So we're going to cook dinner tonight. I'm over here thinking, what am I going to cook for dinner? What am I going to cook for dinner? And as I'm thinking and I come up with the idea, I'm going to cook some chicken for dinner. As I think that, the photons are like, oh, did you see Tiana had that great idea to cook chicken for dinner? Let's run over there and get some of those photons. Get some of that consciousness. So the photons run over to me and they start to eat at my consciousness. And as they're eating the consciousness, that to me, okay, this is my interpretation. That to me is motivation. The process of the photons grabbing onto my consciousness has now motivated me to get up and go to the grocery store to get my chicken and my sides to make my dinner. And the matter, okay, or the reality that we create is going to be our plate at the end of that, of us making that meal, okay? That is the end result. That's our reality. So this is how photons work, even though this was a process of us figuring out what we wanted for dinner. That was a light process. That's amazing. Now, light is a stimulator of the pineal gland. And if you are unaware of the pineal gland, it is very, very ancient knowledge that people know of the pineal gland. Our ancient Kemet people, they studied the pineal gland. They named it. The pineal gland is named because it resembles a pine cone, okay? The lotus flower is also said to be symbolic of the pineal gland because as it opens up, it looks like a pine when it's closed and it opens up. As your third eye opens up, you're able to see beautiful things in a new reality. So the pineal gland has always been very important as far as in spirituality, as intuition. But it also is very important because it regulates a lot of things within our body. A lot of the hormonal responses and regulation of different systems within the body. This is all from the pineal gland, and it's all from how much light the pineal gland is receiving. So the primary function of the pineal gland is to secrete serotonin and melatonin within your body. Serotonin is your daytime drug, not drug. It's your daytime hormone, and melatonin is your nighttime hormone. And depending on how much light the pineal gland is receiving, okay, is depending on how much serotonin or melatonin it's making in the body, okay? This is solely based off of light, external light. So just how like on rainy days or cloudy days, it's a little harder for you to maybe get up out of the bed and be as motivated as when it's a sunny day, you're able to kind of get right up. You feel, woke and you're a little faster in your movements, right? Well, think about it. The amount of light that you are receiving is also changing on those days, right? So the amounts of serotonin and melatonin is changing. And so again, that is just showing you how light really affects the rhythms within your body. It is important for you to experience both natural light as well as nighttime light. And what is nighttime light, Tiana? Darkness. That's all that is. Because darkness or black is really all light together. It's all colors together. It's all the information together. So even when we are sitting in the dark, we are sitting within light. And this is very, very, very beneficial for the pineal gland. When it recognizes that nighttime light or that darkness, it's able to start secreting the melatonin, putting you at rest, rejuvenating and restoring things within your body. But when we are not getting the adequate rest that we need, and our body is not getting that darkness and nighttime rest that it needs, then there are things within the body that are not getting restored and rejuvenated. And then we get backed up and backed up. And if we continue to do that, then that's when we start to have problems. So it's said that we should sleep between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. because that is the peak of the peak of melatonin secretion in the body. And in the mornings, you should sit in a darkened room 15 to 20 minutes prior to rising to allow the serotonin to ramp up in your body. Now, we have here the electromagnetic spectrum so that you can see it with your eyes. And I don't want you to concentrate on this bottom row. I want you to concentrate up here. This is the entire electromagnetic spectrum, okay? All of the things that we know about. Now, there could be plenty of things that we don't know about, okay? You know, we're babies, but this is what we know about. So if we start on this end, this is our shorter waves: cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays. Once you get in the middle at your infrared, it becomes a little regular size waves. And then when we get towards this end at broadcast, they're longer waves, okay? And all of this makes up the electromagnetic spectrum. Now, remember I told you that the photons possess the entire electromagnetic spectrum, right? And I also said that the photons make up light, right? And I also said that melanin is the physical form of light, right? So that is how melanin is able to be such a great conductor, and how it's able to protect us against certain rays and things like that, because it is made up of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Now, out of all of this here, we can only see as humans this little bitty strip right here. And this is what is called the visual light spectrum, okay? And they've made it bigger for us down here. So now we can look at this. So again, out of the whole electromagnetic spectrum, we can only see this little bitty part. This it. Just the colorful part. That's all we can see. All this light out here amongst us, and all we can see is this little bitty strip of color. And that ranges from red to purple. Now, red is 700 nanometers. I don't know if you can see that. So that's on the more normal, or I don't want to say normal. I want to see regular length waves on the electromagnetic spectrum. Purple radiates at 400 nanometers. I know that's not on here, but trust me, okay? It radiates at 400 nanometers, okay? And that is more so on the ultraviolet, towards the ultraviolet end, so going towards the shorter wavelengths. So really, all color is really telling us, right, is how much information it possesses and where it really falls on the visual light spectrum. If we know we're looking at something that a red flower, okay, we know that we're looking at a high vibratory flower. It's at about 700 nanometers and it has pretty regular wavelengths. We know that if we're looking at a purple flower, that it has shorter wavelengths and it's kind of closer to that ultraviolet part of the electromagnetic spectrum. That's really what color is telling us. Now, again, of course, color is light and light is information. But again, if you're just looking at just looking at color, it just tells you where it falls on the electromagnetic spectrum, okay? Now, I'm not going to go over all of this information, but I am just going to show the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. They don't have the hypothalamus shown on here, and I don't want to steer you wrong because I'm not exactly sure. I believe it's here or here, but I don't want to be wrong. So I'm just going to show you those two. But the pineal gland, again, is what we were talking about, and the light received, how it is so important of us getting the correct amounts of light to get the correct amount of hormones secreted within our body. I also want you to take a look and see how the eye of Ra kind of mimics this part of the brain. So yes, our ancient Kemet people did a lot of research on us, and that is what we should be doing now, researching ourselves. Now, this next slide I have is a video. I'm actually going to just add this video to the class. So you're not going to be able to watch it on the slideshow, but you will be able to watch the video. It will be added to the class. So what does all of this mean for melanin dominant people? What this means for us is that we, as melanin dominant people, need amino acids, minerals, and vitamins to make sure that we have melanin production that is sufficient for us, okay? If we know that we are melanin dominant and we produce more melanin, then we are aware that because of this, we are going to require more amino acids and minerals and things to sustain our melanin than someone who is not melanin dominant, okay? So some foods that contain amino acids are bananas, grapes, mushrooms, and green leafy vegetables. Of course, there are probably a million others. These are just ones that I'm naming for you. As stated above, vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and K are all essential for melanin-dominant individuals. So some of those sources are for vitamin K, green and yellow fruits and veggies, and alfalfa. Vitamin C, alfalfa, cherries, plums, pears, melons, green leafy veggies. Vitamin D, sun, alfalfa, oatmeal. Vitamin E, whole grains, leafy veggies, nuts, seeds, legumes, beans, oatmeal, sweet potatoes, alfalfa, all that good stuff. And vitamin K, green leafy veggies, oatmeal, whole rice, sunflower oil, also alfalfa. And you see how I called alfalfa out on all of these because it is an excellent source of vitamins. So you can take alfalfa and pretty much take care of all of those. Melanin dominant individuals also again need minerals, okay? So calcium, green leafy veggies, sea vegetables, okay? We always hear about sea moss, but there are so many other sea vegetables that are very, very high in minerals. Almonds are also a good source of calcium. For iron, whole grains, avocados, beets, peaches, pears, lima beans, kidney beans, green leafy vegetables, all that good stuff. Zinc, legumes, seaweed, nuts, whole grains, mushrooms, pecans, sunflower seeds. Copper, nuts, dried beans, dried fruit, whole grains. Selenium, Brazil nuts, broccoli, chicken, garlic, onion, whole grains, vegetable, wheat germ. Gold is best when used homeopathically or minimal amounts absorbed through the skin. So literally just wearing your gold necklace and just putting it inside of your shirt and leaving it on your skin. If it's real gold, okay, it can be beneficial for your melanin in your body. So that's awesome. Now, if you have any questions about anything that I said on the slide, please feel free to email me. My email is soullovelifecoaching@gmail.com. Also, I have some information here of some people and things you can look up. If you want to research this information yourself, please feel free to do so. That is so important for us to get our own interpretations of this information. But thank you again so much for joining me. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that you share some of this information with people that you love. And again, I hope that you look deeper inside of yourself and learn more about what you're made of. Thank you again. You have a great and prosperous day.